So I'm going to open Steam, play Genshin Impact, and just to see if I can get banned. Now, of course, I won't be using my main account. I'll be using a second account. The thing is, Genshin Impact is good, like has been going through a lot of controversial stuff that I do not want to talk about in this video. So I would care less if my account gets banned. I'm going to start the game. As you can see, I'm using a second account. So we're gonna hop in game, see what happens. If we get banned, I don't care. What is up, you guys? Jury here. So I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, and I want to talk about the Genshin Impact ban wave situation. So if you haven't noticed, I basically made a post saying that I had Genshin Impact is now banning Linux users in the EU or like in Europe for some weird reason. So I would advise you not to play the game until further notice. And I say further notice because I just heard that there are ban waves and I didn't have time to do research. So I was like, you know what, let me just spread this message. And as you can see from this picture, I was getting issues. So this error you're seeing is what I was getting when I disconnected the internet before launching the game in Heroic. So don't use this workaround, please. So this happened like, I want to say 2 days ago when I was playing the game. That's why I decided to make this post, because I feared that if I keep disconnecting my internet connection in order to play this Witcher game, then I would get banned. So I was like, okay, let me do some research now that I have enough time, because I want to see what is actually going on. So one of the first things I decided to do was to ask ChatGPT. So I basically asked ChatGPT like, hey, can you do research if it's true that there are ban waves going on? And it asked me these 3 questions, and I just say like do all of these, right? So it did about 7 minutes of extensive research, and one of the first websites I decided to go to is Reddit, which I think is the best place to go to for seeking information, right? Reddit is just the best like website for basic discussions and forums. So you can see the title says public warning, Genshin Impact is being hostile to Linux as of 5.8, and it seems like the post was removed by the moderators. And this is the top comment. It says, we are done here posting fearful warnings with veiled jabs at some players without evidence to prove it, and then denying evidence to the contrary, ends this post being nuked. So I guess there was a post that got removed because people were spreading misinformation, or some people were just fear-mongering people, I guess. So that's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm gonna read a few interesting comments here. So one comment says, I'm shocked. Well, not shocked. It's what the publishers think banning Linux gamers will solve anything in the long run, especially when it doesn't stop the cheaters. This is especially true. So the thing is, when it comes to Linux, it has a very small player base, right? I think the market share of Linux has reached about 6%, whereas Windows has about 70% of the market share and macOS about 14% or 15%. So for them to decide to ban a small player base just to combat cheating is not going to solve the problem. And this is something I agree with this comment. Now, of course, if there were actual cheating, like if there were actual cheaters using Linux, then that's a whole different story. But let's continue to read the comments. Imagine getting banned for 50 years. And another comment which says, can't wait to play again in 2075. So this is a user who got banned for the use of external plugins and or third-party software. Okay, so are you telling me that this player got banned for 50 years so that after those years have passed, he can play the game? This is ridiculous, honestly. It is possible that Linux users are getting false positive results for other forums of cheating that are technically illegal. The DMCA, for instance, makes a lot of things technically illegal. An attack on a subset of Linux gamers is an attack on all Linux gamers. Well, it's not my game of choice. You have my sympathy and support. Couldn't agree more. Looks like the problem is the FPS unlocker. Even on Windows, some players are getting banned, so if you play without FPS unlocker, it will be fine. Add it. Also, LSFG-VK, I don't know what this is banning apparently. It's a ban wave, so just play without FPS unlocker and whatever this is, and you are going to have no problem. Is there any evidence of this being intentional. We have had waves of Linux bans in many games before that were completely unintended and caused by some anti-cheat software having a hiccup over the operating system environment. Not 100% what it expected. I failed to see why they would quietly tolerate their games being played on Linux for years and then ban hammering people left and right out of a sudden. Assuming people will appeal these bans, I guess we will soon know. Time will tell. So far, from what I've seen, there is no like information from Hoyoverse, so we really can't tell if they just decided no, we don't want Linux gamers playing on our games, or if they're banning Linux gamers because they are using mods or they're using like FPS unlocker or anything that tampers with the game's memory. Again, this is why I'm just reading these Reddit posts just to get an idea on what's going on. So basically, yeah, there are a lot of angry comments. There are a lot of comments that were trying to give information regarding the bans. So from my understanding, if you use FPS unlock, you could get banned potentially 50 years, or if you mess with the game files, or if like basically if you do anything that goes against Hoyoverse terms of service, you can get banned. Okay, but here is where things get interesting. So if I go down, in fact, let me go down. Okay, so this is the another comment I found really interesting. This comment says, I searched Hoyo Lab, Reddit, Twitter, and Blue Sky. I only found 2 cases recently suggesting a ban from Linux. This is the first post, right? Which leads me to this. Oh, never mind. Let me see. So this is the first post, right? So if we click this link, it will lead me to this post, right? So this is a video that is like basically shows what happens if you play Genshin Impact on Linux using Port Proton. If you watch the video, you can see that the user is using Port Proton, and as Hoyo Play launcher appears, the person basically starts the game. In the moment the game starts, it basically loads everything. And one thing I noticed is that this player did not disconnect the internet, so that's an interesting thing, because what I would do to play the game was I would disconnect the interconnection first before I launch the game, but I would only do this on heroic. As for Port Proton, again, probably you shouldn't probably do that. It just works fine. So this is the part where I'm like, okay, well, will you get banned? Well, not yet, because as you can see, the player logs into his account, but then I want you to just see what happens. As the game loads, the player tries to enter the game, but then he gets banned. So that's why I'm like, oh my god. Hello travelers, I play MMO games on Linux using Port Proton. For example, Warframe 1500 plus hours, Genshin Impact 230 plus hours. Some days ago, Genshin Impact started crashing with this error. So this is, guys, this is the exact same error. Let me zoom in. This is the exact same error I got. So if I go back here, this is the exact same error I got when I was trying to play Genshin Impact using, you know, this workaround, right? I started Googling and find a solution using Steam built-in Proton by adding Genshin Impact to Steam library. So I'm guessing what he did, which I will show you later in this video, he basically added a non-Steam game, then browsed the file or like the exe for Genshin, because in Steam you have the option to add non-Steam games. So you basically click the option for add a non-Steam game, and then you browse for the exe. Once you do, you go to settings and you force a compatibility tool or like a compatibility layer. In this case, he's using Proton. Then the user says this solution works for me, and I continue playing, but yesterday I was banned. Oh, that is pretty bad. Now, one thing I noticed that's missing in this comment is, was this player using any form of modifications? Like, was he using FPS unlocker? Was he using I don't know, custom mods, or even custom wine builds or custom Proton builds? Again, I really don't know. Even this user comments, were you consistently offline launching even on Steam, as I see you do in the video? The error was caused by the fact that Hoyo no longer allows you to do that. Wait, was he doing that? I don't think he was. Like his internet connection was on, and then he just opened Hoyo Play. But it wasn't disconnecting the internet connection. No, he just launched the game and everything worked fine. I don't think he was like disconnecting even on Steam. I don't think he was getting banned and kicked for playing Genshin Impact on Linux. So you get a 23 or 24-hour ban if you try to play co-op. Yeah, this shit really sucks. But this doesn't stop there. I decided to go to Linux Next, which you should go out and check his channel. He makes excellent Linux content. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I decided to start my channel and talk about Linux. So I want to go to his posts, because one thing I do find interesting is that if I scroll down, he did made a post saying that Genshin Impact is now banning users for playing on Linux. But then if we take a look at this post, right, if you go to the comments, this comment says, "Nice, I checked them out a while ago. Just hope I don't get banned by Hoyoverse." And then there are 4 more comments. So let's see what these commenters are saying. So this one says, "You get banned. Actually, Hoyo is actively fighting with Linux users right now. Trying to play Genshin Impact on Linux is not recommended at the moment." And this one says, "Nope, you probably won't. Someone from a certain community started fear-mongering on Reddit and everywhere else after getting 2 ban reports on Discord. The reports claimed they were using a hacky custom wine build bundled with their gate-kept launcher to play the game. TTL doesn't use that wine build and hasn't received ban reports either. For the 50-year ban that got mentioned on Reddit, that ban got reduced to 1 week yesterday." Really? Okay. That's, well, at least much better than getting a 50-year ban. But I think I would need more evidence on this if this is actually true. So yeah, those bans were probably a Hoyoverse screw up, but of course they would never admit it because, well, it's Hoyoverse. Yeah, it's always Hoyoverse. And then this person responded to this comment saying, "People using that custom hacky wine builds probably because with default Proton GE, the game is using close to 100% CPU, failing to load and cheat, while should be around 25% on my Ryzen 5600. Okay, guys, I don't know if it's me, but have you noticed that each time you open Genshin Impact, if you're playing the game on Linux, for some reason, and especially on my system, because I have a AMD Ryzen 3400G Vega graphics card, what I noticed is that my CPU, and I'm pretty sure you can also like watch my other videos, but my CPU utilization is always like 80%, whereas my GPU is like half of that. So it's like 50 to 60%. So then I'm like, wait, are you telling me that my CPU, like, is Genshin Impact using more of my CPU than my GPU? Because at first I thought that, okay, maybe my system is bottlenecked because I do have a fairly old CPU with like a mid-end graphics card, which is an AMD Ryzen 6500 XT. So performance wise, it was okay, but I would get a lot of FPS hookup. So this part here is very interesting because I feel like a lot of people have also noticed this, like when their CPU spikes up to 100%, or if their CPU just spikes up to, let's say, 90% on a game that shouldn't be using so much of your CPU usage. So yeah, that's basically all of the information I found. So we went from Reddit, which is probably true that people are, spreading misinformation and fear-mongering people, to a video I showed you where this one user who was using Proton to play Genshin Impact on Linux got banned immediately he wanted to join the game. So what can we say regarding this whole situation? Well, first of all, like I said from the beginning, I don't think that banning a small user base is not going to solve the problem. If there is actual cheating going on in that game, why can't they just ban both Windows users who are using cheats and Linux users? But instead of them doing that, they decide to attack a very small community that apparently just wants to play Genshin Impact. Do you guys remember when Apex Legends decided to drop support for Linux because they made these vague claim that like Linux is a vector for cheating or whatever they said, and then they did have evidence showing that Linux is like the biggest cause of cheating? Well, this apparently is a similar situation we're going on. Again, if Hoyoverse is saying we do not want Linux users to play on our game, then that's on them, right? It's their terms of service, they can do whatever they want. But what I don't like is if they just assume that most of the cheating is on Linux, because let's be honest, a lot of the cheating is on Windows. But yeah, honestly, it's a frustrating situation, and it really sucks that Hoyoverse has decided to, do another bad way for this game. So one of the things that I'm going to do, which is something I do not recommend you do, is I'm actually going to see if I can get banned. So I'm going to open Steam, play Genshin Impact, and just to see if I can get banned. Now, of course, I won't be using my main account. I'll be using a second account to play Genshin Impact. So if I get banned on my second account, that's fine, because from the information that I gathered so far, who knows, maybe people are just spreading misinformation or just want to fearmonger people, or there is a genuine ban wave going on that Hoyoverse just doesn't want us to play their game on Linux. Again, so many things going on, but I always tell my point that cheating on Linux is not the problem. Just because you decide to ban a small player base doesn't mean that the cheating is gonna stop there. The cheating is still going to be a problem, okay? Especially if most of the cheats are coming from Windows, it is still going to be a problem. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna open Genshin Impact. Before I do, let me go to properties, check the compatibility layer. This time I'm using the oldest version of Proton, which is 9-26. So that's how we're going to, that's what I'm basically going to use to launch the game. Otherwise, yeah, we're good to go. Let's launch the game. Like I said, if I get banned, I don't care. The thing is, Genshin Impact is good. Has been going through a lot of controversial stuff that I do not want to talk about in this video. So I would care less if my account gets banned. So I'm in game. I'm gonna log out. The clear login information. So I'm going to log into my second account. So give me a sec. So we're gonna hop in game, see what happens. If we get banned, I don't care. Okay, so let's go. Wow, so we're actually in game. So far, nothing. Hold on, let me check. Okay, there's nothing much I can do about that though. Hold on, let me... Okay. Hey, let's remove this because I don't need that. Okay, so I'm going to... Wow. Okay, I can't do commissions. I don't think I can do co-op on this second account. Yeah, I can't do co-op. I really don't want to do this. Since I can't do co-op and since I can't do commissions, I'm just going to do Kaya's story. I'll play maybe for like 30 minutes and see what happens, right? If I get banned, then again, I don't care. If I don't get banned, then maybe you can play Genshin Impact safely. Maybe, but if I were you, I wouldn't take the risk. Just play the game on Windows and you'll be fine. Yay, but I'm really not looking forward to this because I've already played Kaya's story. Wait, is this a story? Yeah, story quest. Okay. Or I don't know, I might play for maybe 10 minutes or something just to see what happens. Because the thing I really wanted to try in this was co-op, because we did see that if you play co-op, you could get banned for 24 hours. Commissions would have been a lot easier just to go through and see if you get banned or not, but yeah. I cannot do either of those things, so I'm gonna play Kaya's story for maybe 10 minutes instead of 30, just to see what happens. But so far everything is working. I haven't been bad yet, which is kind of shocking. I'm gonna check my CPU usage here.
How should I
oh
begin?
guys.
Right. Let me tell you a secret first.
Do you notice something? Yeah, my CPU is like 93%. Of course, that's because I'm recording. But if I wasn't recording, chances are my CPU usage would probably be at 80%. So this shows you that something really weird is going on when you play this game on Linux. It like the game just uses so much CPU usage that it shouldn't really, it really shouldn't. There should be a balance between, like, I wanna say maybe 80% of your graphics card and then maybe like 70 to 60%, right? But again, just wanted to,
It's a secret of my
like, you know,
past, and I can.
now that we're free from that, I am going to let me see, what can I do? Oh, this treasure. I'm gonna fight some enemies, and I just want to see what happens. Like, maybe I'll get banned or maybe not. Kind of sucks that I'm playing this on a limited account with limited features. Otherwise, I wanted to try the co-op specifically just to see if I can get banned or not, because that's where all things determine, like, okay, maybe you shouldn't play the game on Linux. Okay, so I'm gonna fight these helichills. Let's see what happens. Oh, never mind. I got lost there. I got lost there. Okay, that was pretty easy. Definitely easy.
Unexpected, but welcome.
I think that's it. I think that should be enough. So, I guess we're safe to say you can play the game. The thing is, I can't do co-op, so again, that kind of sucks. I can't do commissions. Let me check again. Okay, well, we can't do co-op, so that's kind of unfortunate. I think I would need to reach, I believe, adventure rank 13 or 20 or even higher just to get co-op. But yeah, as you guys can see, so far I haven't been banned. Like, of course, like, there's some things I can't do. In fact, let me log into interface just to see if I can get banned. Oh no, I won't get banned. Okay, so as you saw, that was pretty much it. So now begs the question, can you still play Genshin Impact? Well, if you are unsure, or like if you're uncomfortable playing this game on Linux, then just don't play the game. If you fear of your account, just don't play the game, and your best option is to just play it on Windows. Or if you have a Steam Deck, you can play Genshin Impact, because I did notice that in some Reddit forums that people who are playing the game on Steam Deck are not gonna get banned for some reason, but if you use a desktop environment and then distribution, then maybe you might get banned. So if you have a Steam Deck, just play Genshin back there and you'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, ban waves are going on. I don't know if Hoyoverse will make an official statement, or if, you know, they will clarify why they're banning Linux users. If it's true that they're banning Linux users who are using custom wine builds, or who are using FPS unlocker, or anything that tampers with the game, then that could explain why there are ban waves going on. But as you saw, I got in game, I didn't get banned on Steam for now. For any other launchers, I just recommend you avoid using them. If you really want to play Genshin Impact, use Steam and add a non-Steam game. Avoid launchers like Heroic, Lutris, and Anime Games Launcher, and especially Proton, right? So yeah, I think that's what I have to say. It's your boy Jury, and yeah, I'm signing out. See you in the next video.